The airlock hissed, a mechanical sigh that marked the boundary between the cold vacuum of space and the chaotic, humming interior of the interstellar port. I had landed on the distant colony of Tessara 7, a world more known for its treacherous asteroid belts than for hospitality. I had been hired for a simple escort mission, safe passage for an alien envoy traveling to the Galactic Council, but simple was never my forte. I adjusted my jacket and checked the comm panel on my wrist. Everything was routine. Too routine. My instincts, honed from years as a mercenary for hire, screamed a warning I couldn't ignore. "Welcome, human," a voice echoed through the docking bay. It was melodic, smooth, and alien, like water flowing over polished crystal. My eyes scanned the area, and that's when I saw her. She stepped forward with a grace that seemed almost impossible. Her skin shimmered with an iridescent hue, shifting between violet and silver as the dim light fell across her elongated features. The armor she wore wasn't just protective, it was ceremonial, etched with patterns I didn't recognize, symbols that pulsed faintly as if alive. I froze. It wasn't just any alien. I knew her. My mind raced back 5 years. The war against the Kryn Dominion had been brutal. Fleets had fallen, worlds had burned, and the name of the alien Queen Elithra, then a battlefield commander, was whispered with fear and reverence. I had crossed paths with her only once, in the midst of chaos. The Kryn attack had cornered us both on the ash-choked surface of Thares Prime. I had been a freelance soldier at the time, working as a scout for the coalition of allied worlds. Elithra had been leading a desperate defense. Her forces were being slaughtered, her wing of soldiers surrounded, and the Kryn warship's orbital bombardment was imminent. I remembered the moment vividly. She had raised her blade, its energy cutting through the smoke like lightning, fighting back wave after wave of Kryn drones. I had ducked behind a fractured wall, evaluating the situation, and then acted. A single well-placed charge took out the drones flanking her position. She had glanced at me, her eyes, brilliant amethyst, softened for the first time in the battle, a silent acknowledgement of gratitude. Then, with no words exchanged, she vanished into the chaos, leaving me to continue my own fight. And now, here she was, standing before me, on Tessara 7, her gaze locking with mine as if she had traveled across light years and years just to find me. "You're Elithra," I said, voice hoarse from disbelief. "I am," she replied, her tone calm, almost curious. "And you are the human who saved me on Thares Prime." It wasn't a question. It was a statement loaded with weight. I shook my head. I didn't think you'd remember me." She stepped closer, her movement fluid, every gesture precise and commanding. "Do you remember me, human?" she asked, this time with a note of something softer, almost vulnerable. In that moment, the battlefield between fire and death, I felt something I have not felt before or since. "You saved me. Not just my life, but my command, my people, my soul." I swallowed hard, the memories coming back in flashes of heat, smoke, and screams. It was nothing. Anyone would have done the same. She smiled faintly, a crescent of starlight against the violet shimmer of her skin. Few would have risked their life to save a commander of another species. Most would have left me to die, or worse, to be captured. Her words stung. Even after all these years, the memory of that battle still haunted me. I remembered the way Kryn plasma cut through the ground, the acrid smoke of burning armor, the screams of soldiers caught between death and duty. And somehow, through it all, there had been a moment of connection, an understanding across species that neither of us could explain. I don't know what to say. I admitted, feeling a rare, human vulnerability I hadn't allowed myself in years. You need say nothing, she said, lifting a delicate hand. I have not come for words. I have come because the universe has brought us together again, and I need you. The next hours blurred as she led me through the corridors of the Tessara 7 port. It wasn't just a city. It was a labyrinth of spires and floating walkways, alien architecture that bent conventional geometry, defying physics in subtle ways. Gravity fields shifted, walls shimmered with holographic glyphs, and the air thrummed with latent energy. We arrived at a chamber filled with holographic star maps and alien artifacts, some pulsating faintly as if alive. She turned to me, her eyes serious now. The Kryn Dominion has not been destroyed, she began. They lie in wait, scattered across unclaimed systems. They are rebuilding, learning, evolving. And they have discovered a weapon, one that could annihilate entire civilizations in a single strike. I felt the weight of the words. And you want me to what? Fight with you again? Elithra's gaze softened but remained firm.
No.
Not just fight. I need someone who understands both the battlefield and the human element. Someone who can see beyond tactics, beyond technology, someone I trust. The irony wasn't lost on me.
Trust.
An alien queen, sovereign of millions, trusted me, a lone human, with her life again. I started, but she interrupted. I will not force you. But know this. The Kryn will come for all of us. And when they do, we will need each other, human. That night, Tessara 7's twin moons hung low, casting elongated shadows across the alien city. I found myself walking alongside her on a suspended walkway, the void stretching endlessly beneath us. You changed, I said finally, after a silence thick with unspoken tension. And you did not, she replied, a faint amusement in her tone. Still stubborn, still human in your arrogance. I survived, I said simply. That's all that matters. Her laugh was low, almost musical. Survival is not enough, human. Not when the stakes are as high as they are now. You saved me once, but now you may save much more than a single life. You may save a galaxy. I didn't respond. Words felt inadequate. Instead, I let her lead me to the council chamber, where representatives of several allied species had gathered. Holographic projections floated in midair, showing intelligence reports of Kryn movements, intercepted transmissions, and the growing threat of their weapon. It was a war briefing unlike any I had ever attended, and at the center of it all stood Elithra, poised and commanding. Watching her, I understood why I had once risked my life for her. Even in victory or defeat, she inspired loyalty and courage, not just fear. Days turned into weeks as we planned our counteroffensive. I trained with her elite soldiers, learning their tactics, their culture, their language. And slowly, a bond rekindled, not just of mutual respect, but of something deeper, something neither of us could name. One evening, as we strategized in a quiet chamber, she finally spoke about Thari's Prime again. You know, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I have replayed that day countless times. I wondered what would have happened if you had not intervened. If I had died, would my people have survived? Would the Kryn have triumphed? I met her gaze, seeing a vulnerability in her eyes that belied her legendary reputation. You survived, I said, and you will continue to survive, because you're stronger than any army or weapon. Her hand brushed mine, a fleeting contact that sent a shock through me. And yet strength alone is not enough. Sometimes, it takes a single act of courage, a single choice to change everything. I nodded, understanding the weight of her words. I had made that choice once, without hesitation, and now it seemed destiny had brought us together again, asking me to make it once more. The Kryn strike came sooner than expected. Sensors picked up a fleet emerging from the shadow of a nearby nebula, weapons capable of reducing entire moons to molten dust. Elithra's forces mobilized immediately, and I found myself once more on the front line, side by side with the queen I had saved years ago. The battle was chaotic, violent, and unlike anything I had ever experienced. Ships danced through the void, plasma arcs cut through the darkness, and alien war cries echoed across comm channels. But through it all, Elithra was a beacon of focus, directing her forces with precision, grace, and ruthlessness. At a critical moment, we encountered the Kryn flagship, a monstrous vessel bristling with weapons. Its main cannon was charging, a strike that could obliterate the Tessara 7 fleet in a single shot. "We have one chance," Elithra shouted over the comms, her voice clear, unwavering. "We hit the core simultaneously. You and I, human." I nodded, adrenaline surging. Memories of Thari's prime flashed through me. I understood the risk, but I also understood the trust she placed in me. We entered the enemy ship's corridors, moving with synchronized precision. The Kryn soldiers were relentless, but our combined skills were unmatched. I covered her flank as she cut through enemy lines, her blade humming with lethal energy. And when we reached the core, I placed the charges while she maintained a protective perimeter, her eyes locking with mine for a fleeting second. Acknowledgement, trust, unspoken bond. The explosion was blinding, consuming the flagship in a cascade of fire and energy. We barely made it out as the shockwave threw us into space. When I opened my eyes, Elithra was there, pulling me into the relative safety of a rescue pod. The aftermath was surreal. The Kryn forces retreated, their threat diminished, at least for now. Tessara 7 had survived, and with it, countless lives across allied systems. Elithra and I stood on the observation deck of her flagship, gazing at the debris field that was once the Kryn fleet. Silence hung between us, filled with shared understanding. "You did it," she said softly. "We did it," I corrected, feeling the truth in the statement. Her gaze softened, and for the first time, she allowed herself a moment of vulnerability. "Human, I have never forgotten you, and I will not forget again." I felt something shift, an acknowledgement beyond words. I had saved her once, and now she had saved countless lives, including mine, in a sense I could not fully articulate. "I remember you," I said finally, "and I won't forget either." She smiled, a crescent of light in the darkness. "Then perhaps, human, this is not the end, but the beginning of something greater." As we looked out at the stars, I realized that our bond, forged in fire and battle, had transcended species, time, and war. It was rare, improbable, and yet undeniable. And in that moment, I knew the galaxy itself had conspired to bring us together again.